Hello and welcome to the channel. In this video I'm going to start dismantling this Honda CT90 engine, and as usual, if that's something you're interested in, stick around and I'll get straight into it. Well, I ended up with this engine because I bought a pile of scrap engines, and the deal was you couldn't just take one, you had to take the lot. So I paid 100 Aussie dollars, about 60 US dollars, for a pile of engines because I saw this engine hidden underneath. I thought it was a CT110 engine, and it's not until I got it home I realised it's a CT90 engine. You can tell by looking at the engine number, pretty easy, CT90E, and then on the cylinder or jug here it says 89 cc's, and it's obviously a high-low version or sub-transmission. So I've bolted the engine up onto this frame that I've made. First thing I realised, all four mounting bolts underneath where the footrests usually bolt onto, they were stripped or damaged, so I had to do 4 helicoils before I even started, so that's not a good start. And then looking at this engine, if you look here, someone's cut through the gear shift shaft, probably with an angle grinder, and they've damaged the casing as well. The casing has a piece broken away here. I think that's normally where the chain guard bolts to. So this side casing is probably scrap. As you can see, most of the bolts are missing. The lever for the high-low gearbox is missing. Looking at the wiring from the alternator, that's bad. And the bolt sheared off in the cylinder head there that holds the little bracket that holds this points cable in place. Obviously this is the wrong screw there, and these two are missing. Let's have a look around the other side, see what surprises that's got in store. First thing we can see here, kickstart shaft, really bad condition, no sign of a spline, and it's got a hole drilled in it. Many people will do that because they know that to change the kickstart shaft you have to split the crankcases, so the quick way around for them is to drill a hole there to hold the kickstart in place. So that's a bad start. When I went to drain the oil, no oil in the engine at all, and that's another bad sign because usually the internals will start to rust. And yes, I've put some Stilsons on there, pipe wrench on there, and the engine, guess what, is seized. Over to the cylinder head we can see broken fins on the cylinder. I don't know how they happened. Maybe they happened when the engine was piled up as scrap amongst a load of other engines. Damage there, no carburetor. All the other bolts, all the screws on this side seem to be in place. So other than that, not too bad. When I removed the spark plug, it was seized in there. I had to smash it and use a big socket to get it off. I'll just left this so you can have a look, see what you think to this. Hopefully the camera will focus in on it. Not sure if that's in focus or not. Maybe you can see. That's terrible. Just a mass of rust and crud. So the chances are water's been inside this engine. So I'll turn the engine around, start dismantling the engine from the left hand side. So I'll start with the screws on the high-low gearbox. Try and keep my hands out of the way once again. And yes, they are loose, and they are, as usual, on a vintage Honda, as you can expect, JIS screws. Telltale giveaway, a dot punch mark or a centre punch mark on the head of the stud there, head of the bolt. Only 2 screws, 2 missing, and the lever missing, so I'm not expecting. There is a dowel in this top corner. And look at that, no oil in sight, filthy, and much of the high-low gearbox is missing. So we have the idler gear, and that's about it. So not a good start. The good news is though, I do have another one of these engines, but that has a destroyed gearbox, so I'm hoping between the 2 engines, 2 bad ones, I can build one good one. So So this is not going to be difficult to remove. One bolt, one screw, and looking so-so. That's all the screws removed. And let's see what happens. Coming off easy. There are a couple of dowels, but nothing much. So the drive sprocket has come off with the shaft there, and that's it's worn but maybe just about usable. Take these screws off. Press the spring to remove the wire and then pull the grommet out. We can remove the stator and fast seized solid. Next I'll remove the points cover. Oh, and look at the state of that. That's terrible. Rusted. Oh dear. Won't hurt there by the look of it. Let's try this. Really had it. So pretty dreadful condition. The mechanical advancement shard. I've drenched the whole thing in oil. That slid off pretty easily. Don't lose the small dowel pin there. That's seized. That will need a full service. So this is looking at the rust on the camshaft there. This is looking to be coming off now though. Ordinarily you'd rotate this to top the centre on compression, and to give you an idea, the pin there, the dowel pin, is usually pointing this way. Because the engine is seized, I can't do that. At least they undid pretty easily. I may as well crack that one here. So what I did, I screwed a cam sprocket bolt in there. Using a spanner, I can turn this, slowly remove the camshaft. So I have cracked these. Move them in the diagonal pattern. Remember, on the 90, just one dome nut. On the CT110, there's two. One there, one there. Doesn't look too bad, surprisingly. I wish you'd have had the camera on for that. When I cracked the cylinder head, a pile of water ran out. So, oh, look at that. How nasty is that? We've got a valve stuck open. Oh, terrible. Wow. I don't understand why the engine was seized, do you? Look at that. I've never seen anything like as bad as that. The bore is just disintegrated. So that cylinder and piston is pretty much scrap. You couldn't even rebore that. Look at the state of it. I hope the crank's not in the same condition. So I'll clean that up and get back to you. What a state. Why would you let an engine get into such a state? Come on. Look at the state of that piston. Even the gudgeon pin, the wrist pin, is just full of rust and water. Well, abysmal condition. Absolutely terrible. Look at that. And it's a shame because the cam sprocket wasn't worn. This piston doesn't look like it was worn originally. It's just been left. Maybe it was in a flood. Well, I couldn't understand why I was struggling to remove the circlips from the gudgeon pin or the wrist pin, and on both sides what they've done, whoever's put this in, have put the gaps dead in line with the notch on the piston on both sides, making it really difficult to remove the piston. So what I'll do, I'll leave that for the moment, concentrate on removing the rotor. I'll remove this bolt with a rattle gun. Normally I wouldn't advocate this, but I'm hardly going to damage anything, am I? Well, depending on which flywheel that you have, this is an earlier bike, I think this is in late 70s, this is a couple of years later. They're slightly different. So with this flywheel, if you have one of these pullers that's used for a 12 volt CT110, you can use this bolt, screw it in the centre, and you can use that to withdraw the rotor. This one, I'm looking up, I've got this. This is a crankshaft bolt, crankshaft front pulley bolt off a Mitsubishi car engine. So that will go on there. And again, a rattle gun. What harm can I do? Off it comes. Looking pretty nasty. Look at the rust on the main bearings. Oh, what a pain that was. I've never seen anything like it. The 3 screws holding the cam chain adjuster in place. I was using an impact driver with JIS bits and they were still solid. I had to use a chisel and chisel most of them around. Gradually got them loose, but what a pain. I've never seen anything like this engine. If this is anything to go by, I may as well just open the wheelie bin and drop it in right now. Oh, and that third one. I thought the third one had loosened, but it hasn't. And look at that, the oil pump is seized as well. Oh, it's just getting worse and worse and worse. Well, I think I've finally gotten the oil pump drive to come out. Look at the rust on that. So it's not just the teeth, worn teeth you have to look at. Look at this, this is so hard and brittle, and you can see cracks in the rubber. So that's pretty much unusable as well. The roller is seized. So the last thing, take this plug out, remove the spring and this plunger. So that's the plunger and spring and the cap removed. And that's as much as I can do on this side. I'll leave the piston in place. It's obviously seized. I can do that later on once the crankshaft's out. So in the next video I'll start on the right hand side, remove the clutch, the primary drive and split the cases. Thanks for watching. See you again soon in the next video.